Tell us a little bit about the economy and the markets for tree nuts right now. At a high level, what are we looking at for the various tree nuts?
Well, things have been looking better recently for almonds and walnuts. And pistachios, that has been the exception. I mean, in a good way over the past decade. It's been the option to plant given profitability, given resilience of the trees to salinity, to deficit irrigation, things like that. And we've seen a healthy market over the past few years. And that has incentivized a lot of plantings over the past decade. So from 2012, every year on average, there were like around 30,000 new acres of pistachios. So now we will see way more pistachio supplies in the next few years. And for that, market access, given that historically about 70% of pistachios produced in California are exported. Last season, it was higher than that. So market access will continue to be critical for this industry to remain profitable.
Talk to me a little bit about the almond and walnut industry. What kind of growth are we looking at seeing there, if any?
Well, over the past few years, those two industries have experienced significant challenges. Starting in 2018 with the implementations of retaliatory tariffs going into critical markets, and then after COVID with increase in cost and also logistic bottlenecks impacting the ability to export. So after COVID, 2021, 22 was we observed very low prices for almonds and walnuts. But now starting in 24, we've seen a significant recovery in prices in both of those. Now, in terms of growth in the next few years, I think for the walnut industry, there will be a better supply-demand balance globally. The industry has been through some challenging times, as I just said. So not only in California, but globally, because, for example, China went from being a net importer to being a net exporter, and also significant expansion of the Chilean exports. So now going forward, we're expecting a flat to declining acreage in Chile, also in California, and not expecting growth in China. So going forward, we will see a likely more balanced supply-demand situation, and that should help with profitability. And over the past few months, obviously, we've seen a strong recovery in prices in California. However, that given the Sigma restrictions and other aspects, we're not expecting a strong rebound in acreage in the next, at least in the short term.
So if I'm a grower and I'm evaluating which nut crop I want to commit to, because we're talking about permanent crops here, what's my first step? What's the number one thing you would tell a grower? What advice would you give them on trying to figure out what crop they should invest in?
Well, that's a very challenging question. Now, is not a single answer that fits all, because now it's gonna be more specialized on what is your location, what can you grow better, more efficiently in the places that you are growing. And I think focusing on better varieties and try to be more efficient, that will be critical in the next few years. And now there is no simple answer for that, because probably at one point over the past 2 decades, at one point they would say, yeah, almonds are the choice, then pistachios are the choice. Now it's a little bit more challenging than that, and it will depend on where you're located and what you can grow better in that specific area.
In terms of tree nuts in emerging markets, from your perspective, where do you think the big opportunities are for these commodities?
Well, in some of these developing economies, we will continue to see significant expansion of the middle class. Particularly, India has huge potential. Now is the country with the largest population, and the middle class continues to expand. And a good proportion of that population, they are they have plant-based diets. So market diversification will be key. I mean, in Latin America, in the Middle East, in some of the Mediterranean countries and Northern Africa, things like that. So again, like market diversification will be key. And we've seen that the industry has been making efforts to open new markets, and that will be key in the next few years.